Thanks for watching Here to Stay TV. I'm Glenn Haussman, and I have with me Steve Burns of BridgeStreet. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you very well, Glenn.
So you focus on Middle East, Asia Pacific region. It's an area we don't really talk a lot about. I think we get caught up with Europe and North America and that sort of stuff. Curious as to what's happening in those two parts of the world.
I think what we're seeing in the Middle East and Asia is a lot of supply out there now, and like the rest of Europe and the US, they're all now figuring out how do we better distribute. Some great operators in the Middle East, a lot of supply out there, and likewise in Asia, it's the heart of some really powerful, strong operators. But now everyone's thinking more globally, everyone's thinking about distribution, and they're thinking the fact that their clients are based in the US or Europe, they're traveling, they've got to think in a more global context rather than being just more isolated, if you like, within their own regions. And I think that's where we at BridgeStreet are now thinking about how do we bring the benefit of our sales teams around the world, selling to clients who are traveling around the world and benefiting everyone around the world, not just being very insular within our own different regions. And I think that's a big change happening now within the industry.
Yeah, because one of the things that I'm finding interesting about this is that whole idea of the supply-demand dynamic. You need the supply in order to meet the demand, but you need demand in order to have supply. Right. Quite a tricky puzzle, especially if people aren't as familiar with a particular concept such as service apartment and extended stay living.
Right, and I think both of those things are hugely important for us. At BridgeStreet this year, we're really driving both those sides. We're driving supply. We've now got 140,000 units and growing by about 3,000 a month, increasing the number of available units around the world for our clients to enjoy when they travel. At the same time, we're increasing our sales force in key markets around the world, and we're building a sales hub in Dallas, at points around Europe, in Frankfurt, Munich, Milan, and Paris, and so on. So really, without sales demand, supply is useless, and vice versa. Right. So both of those are really key for us this year.
Interesting. You mentioned Dallas. Dallas, to me, is a central United States location that a lot of international flights come. So you're thinking about Dallas as the sales hub for places like the Middle East and for Asia.
Yeah, we're seeing an increasing amount of our business in Europe and Asia originating out of the US, and vice versa. We're selling into the US too from this region here. So that cross-pollination, if you like, is really important for us as a business. And I think our suppliers and the operators who we're working with will find that really is truly incremental business for them too.
What's happening in places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, where you've seen a lot of traditional hotel product flood the market, and there seems to be a lot of buildings that were constructed for apartments? How do they fill it all?
I think that's right. I think what's happening out there as well is that as well as the traditional service apartments and hotels that are being built, there's an increasing development of private homes, as we've seen elsewhere in Europe and the US as well. So again, as it is in Europe and the US, the scope of extended stay and service accommodation is broadening. It's becoming less defined in some ways in terms of the properties, but more defined as being, you just don't want to be in a hotel if you're staying longer than 5 nights, and that's the key to it. And the number of options out there in the Middle East and elsewhere is broadening into private homes, extended stay hotels, service apartments, and so on.
So what's the sales process like from the sense of, hey, you're dealing with travel manager? How much education still needs to be done in order to get them to understand the concept and buy into it?
Right. I think the conversations we're having here this week in London and every week when we talk to our clients is that they realize now that BridgeStreet is now providing a solution. We're not selling buildings they think they might like to stay in. We're selling a solution. Wherever you want to stay, you can stay there your way. And really that comes down to having supply in the right locations. We're a very, very location sensitive part of hospitality. Right. 2 blocks is a long way for a lot of people in terms of key city center locations. So we need to make sure we have supply on the doorstep of where people want to be. And quality operators. Accreditation is very important to us. And we're not vetting the apartments, that's independently done. And we're not grading or putting star ratings against properties. They're being reviewed by guests themselves. So that's really important for us that it's a curated supply.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that guest review element, because without that third-party approval, then it just feels like it's a sales effort.
Yeah, and I think when people visit our website and when our clients use their booking hubs, they're seeing options listed which is not, they're not being guided by us as to which ones we think they should buy. It's the closest one to where they want to be. It's sorted by distance, for example. So I think that agnostic position we take as to, you choose where you want to stay, and if it's listed here, we're standing by that transaction. That's an important consideration.
What's the biggest change that you've seen in your universe in the last year, and the biggest change you think is going to happen in the next year?
I think the biggest change within the last year is, since this time last year, we've gone from having 0 units on our platform to having 140,000.
Right.
So the adoption from operators and suppliers, they now understand what we at BridgeStreet are doing. We've got a very defined path that we're taking, and it's the adoption rate is far faster than even we anticipated, and we had some pretty ambitious targets too. So I think that's the biggest trend over the last year. I think the biggest trend for the year coming ahead will be increasing that supply further, but also now making sure that the sales message about it being a solution is being widely adopted. And then all the conversations we're having with our clients, is that's really starting to hit home, that we have options for them wherever they travel in the world.
Excellent. So that's what it's about. It's about availability, plenty of supply, and making sure you connect with those travel managers to make sure that they understand the full benefits of what you're trying to do.
Exactly right.
Great, perfect. So for Steve Burns and myself, thanks for watching Here to Stay TV.